All right, welcome back. Our next guest is the author of the newly released book, 52 Ways to Reconcile, How to Walk with Indigenous Peoples on the Path to Healing.
It offers a weekly guide with 52 small acts for all Canadians to help us move closer to reconciliation as people and also as a country. Please welcome to the show author David Robertson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the show. I'd love to start off by asking you what your definition is of reconciliation.
I think there's two parts. There's one to think about what it really means and what it entails. I think a lot of people associate it with residential school history, which is a big part of it, but it's much broader than that. Looking at colonial history in Canada, the term itself is a little bit of a misnomer too, because what we want to do is we want to build something for the first time. Reconciliation is returning to a right relationship. I don't think we ever really had that, but that doesn't mean we can't build something good now. And that's what this book is trying to help do.
Well, some of the acts you recommend sort of suggest that we maybe join or start an Indigenous book club, listen to Indigenous movies, watch Indigenous or listen to Indigenous music. How will those acts of us engaging with Indigenous art further our walk towards reconciliation?
Well, I mean, art is storytelling, and storytelling is the truth part of reconciliation. So there's learning from stories, but I think also like watching art increases demand. So we get more artists finding work in the industries, and it increases our exposure to stories that will help us to learn and grow together as a community.
All right, David, you also recommend to watch a survivor video. Why do you think that's more impactful over, say, just reading something?
I think reading something definitely has its place, like books, for sure.
Yeah.
But listening to a survivor and actually being immersed in the story and having that personal connection, it stays with you. And I think we want stuff like that to stay with us. I remember the first time that one of the first books I'd published was a book called Sugar Falls. And I was visiting with an elder. And I was in her healing room at her work in downtown Winnipeg. And I listened to her for 4 hours, just telling me her story about her experience across like residential school. And that still is with me today. And I'm grateful for that. It was hard to hear, but I carry that with me, and it focuses a lot of the work I do.
That's incredible.
Another recommendation in your book is to mentor Indigenous youth. So what would that look like in practice?
I think like a lot of us, we know our jobs and we're good at our jobs, but having an Indigenous youth into our workplace, one of the things we have to recognize is that they're coming from a community that they may not have ever been to a city before. Remote communities don't have buses, they don't have bank accounts. And so a lot of things we take for granted, that is what we have to incorporate into mentorship programming, is transitional supports. Because what we want is for Indigenous youth and frankly anybody who's coming in from remote communities who are looking for work to find success. And the success of one person in a community is the success of everybody.
Yeah, great point. All right, so mentors, of course, are important. So how do we even get started?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of great mentorship programs. And if you look for provincially, there's usually one in every province. But nationally, there's a great one from Inspire called Rivers to Success. And that's a great one for youth. And contacting them and volunteering to be a mentor is a great place to start.
Well, food, of course, is such a big part of many, many cultures, including Indigenous cultures. And you recommend visiting a local Indigenous restaurant, or even for non-Indigenous people to take a crack at making their own bannock bread. So talk to me about the importance of food sort of on the road to reconciliation.
Well, I mean, language is a big part of culture, and I think food is a big part of culture too. And I mean, there's a universality to, bannock is great. And anybody across Canada can eat bannock and enjoy it. But there's also regional aspects of food that we can learn about. And if you go to Pacific Northwest, you're going to be eating a lot more fish in the diet. If you go to Manitoba, where I'm from, you're going to probably have a lot more bison, but it's all going to taste really good. And there's restaurants across Canada that are Indigenous owned and run. And it just takes a quick Google to find out where that might be in your area.
Not to put pressure on you, but can you shout out one of your favorites?
Feast in Winnipeg is pretty good.
There you go. Feast in Winnipeg. Let's do it.
Yeah, and bison, by the way, is delicious.
It is.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, so to avoid making mistakes or being offensive, people might choose to just do absolutely nothing. So what can you share about making mistakes on the path towards reconciliation?
Well, I like to actually quote Michael Jordan. And, he said that if he didn't make mistakes, he wouldn't find the greatness that he found. It was part of the process. And reconciliation is pretty new for everybody still. It hasn't been around for that long. And so if we want to get better at what we do, we want to get to where we want to get to, mistakes are part of the process. It's how we grow, it's how we learn, and it's how we become better. So it's a really important thing that we need to do. And if we don't make mistakes, it means we're not actually trying to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
This book covers so much, like arts, science, trauma, education, but you say that the path to reconciliation can be as easy as looking up. I love that. But can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Well, it's looking up at the sky, for example, and we have so many stories of the sky in Indigenous cultures across Turtle Island. I'm Cree, and we have so many Cree stories. One of my favorites is of the most famous constellation, which is of the Big Dipper. And the Big Dipper we don't see as like a big spoon. You know, what we see is an animal, and that animal is a fisher, and it's called Ochak Ochakosuk, which is the fisher stars. And so when you look at that constellation, you see an animal. And if you know the story, you can connect that to the constellation, which is how the fisher got placed into the sky and how his tail became broken. And the story is how Fisher helped bring warmth back to the North Country and to save his village. And it's a story about land stewardship, environmentalism. And knowing that story and looking to the sky connects the story to our real lives. And it teaches us a lot, too. And a lot of our stories teach things which are good for anybody.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, this has
Look
been
up,
so
look up.
fascinating. Just look up. David, thank you so much for putting this into action,
Thank you.
into the book.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. The book is called 52 Ways to Reconcile. It is out now. Actionable items available to you at your fingertips right now. Studio audience, you're going home with your copy today.
Hey.
Fabulous. All right, let's take a break, everybody. We're back right after this.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.